today we're doing my Purple Nova deck profile. I finally went back to Singapore to collect my secret rare Novas that I got on Christmas. So I'm very happy to showcase this deck to you all. So Purple Nova is a deck that has been running around very rampantly recently because of its very nice level of control and play tactics, and as well as the flexibility of how the deck can play and the number of lines it has. It's enormous, and the value you get is also really strong. So let's just get on with the deck profile. So first we will start with the Nova package. Of course, you have your 3 Sigil Nova RV, your 3 Worm Shooters. Oh well, this isn't Worm Shooter, this is Dark Worm Regalia, and this is the 3 Worm Shooters. So luckily for us, technically in BSC 41, except for Nova. Nova is only in the Saga Rare, but Dark Worm Regalia and Worm Shooter here are both reprinted in BSC 41. I got myself the Zara Worm Shooter. Yeah, the foiling is beautiful. So we shall start with what Nova does first. So Worm Nova here is an Astral Dragon Soldier that can advent on a cost 6 or higher Astral Dragon. So that one Regalia and the Worm Shooter are our main targets. So when advents, he can take back all your core from trash to this spirit, or he does take back all your core from trash to this spirit. So that includes your soul core, so you can, you know, do more plays after with your soul core. Additionally, if you advented on a worm named spirit, you can add cores from void to your life until you go back to 5. So basically, it helps you stabilize your life points. In a sense, it is a free core boost, because if you go from 4 to, of course, 1 to 5, you basically added 4 core from void to the field in a very long-winded manner, and you don't die. He's also very beefy, so he doesn't lose to a lot of things. Double symbol is also great, means he does a lot of damage. His second effect is during Advent, when attacks, you can either destroy up to 20k worth of spirits, or you can discard both players' hand and open zone once per game. So this is really nice for scenarios where your opponent is holding the one burst wall, then you just discard everything else in their hand, so they have no plays other than the burst wall, and then you just have to deal with the field. So that's why I am liking Nova so much, and the reason to build this deck. So Dark Worm Regalia is like the key to getting your Novas off when your Worm Shooter is down and weary, because it's an Astral Dragon Ogre Wizard that advents on a red or purple cost 3 or higher spirit. When you advent on a cost 3 or 4 spirit, you can advent this on them without using your soul core. So basically, it saves your soul core for Nova. It gives you a cost 6 body, and your soul core needs to be available when you do this effect, but even when you advent him normally, he's still nice because it's on advent, and on summon is to destroy all opposing spirits and ultimates with 1 core on them, and then for each one destroyed you draw a card. So it's super great against white boards, because they usually only put 1 core on them anyways, and then you draw a lot of cards. So value stacked in 1 card, and he's like the main extender in the deck. We will explain that more later. And 3 Worm Shooter, because it's the Soul Burst that dodges Shack. Although it doesn't get past Lampo, I'm considering cutting this down to like 2 pieces to include other things. But for now, 3 seems fine, because I want to see it often. And as long as I'm not facing Lampo, which on the meta chart right now is not very common, it's a nice card to have. It blows up a Nexus and draws a card too before coming out to become like an advent body for Nova here. So that's the Nova package. You won't go without them. Like, you can cut the Worm Shooter by 1, and maybe you're only running 2 Nova and 2 Regalia, but when you're Purple Nova, this is the things you will see. Always. Next up, we run our 3 copies of Cross Evolt. I finally got my 3 hits. And I'm so happy to see this. Now this is one of the best cards that came out of the Collaboration Booster 24 because it is a cost 6 advent condition. So it just needs anything that's cost 6, which is why Worm Shooter is here. And it's also why Dark Worm Regalia is also at 3 because it's super convenient to just use a cost 4 or cost 3 to stack into Regalia without the so-called, and then you go into Cross Evolt later to clear whatever you need to clear and draw yourself some cards. Now drawing, how do you draw cards with Cross Evolt is on advent or on attack, you can send 3 costs from an opposing spirit or ultimate to the reserve, or destroy an opposing spirit or ultimate that is cost 8 and below. If you do destroy, you draw. If you do destroy or deplete, you draw 2. You can draw 2. So the draw being optional is great because it goes around all the hand size increase bursts that can't be discarded, like Il Dissolve, Score Emperor, and a bunch of other things. Occasionally, Juggler's Juggler, because apparently when I went back to Singapore, that burst suddenly became super popular. Oh, Goddess Incarnate as well, because I don't want to lose my hand until I use Nova and I'm confident of going in. Yeah, so that's why he's so good. He's also a double symbol, cost 9 spirit, so Omegamon players will nut at the sight of this card as well, sort of. Because technically you can just go in this and this. Or you can do the whole chain with the Dark Worm, and then you go to him, come back to your turn, go into the Omegamon. So in all technicality, he is also the reason why Omegamon is still so expensive. He happens to be cost 9 as well. So yeah, I finally got my secret rares of these, so I'm cooking with them right now. So next is our 3 Zepadon. The reason why he's in here is just in case we don't draw into Evolt, he is the next best thing. The difference is that Evolt needs to remove something to draw, he doesn't. As long as he advents, he draws. And his advent condition is similar to Regalia's, except that he can't stack on cost 3, on cost 4s. So Regalia needs to destroy things to draw. This guy draws as long as he advents, which is great. He also removes Nexuses and spirits that are cost... remove, and he destroys spirits that are 7k and below, and the effects of the destroyed Nexus or spirit don't activate. So this cancels out all the Sekai cards, you know, like your Akano Sekai, Midori no Sekai, Purple, so on and so forth. Or basically all the when leaf field effects don't activate, or other effects that trigger when it's being destroyed. It doesn't activate at all because he cancels it out. So that's obviously super strong. Like when I got his base rare, he was $2 and I upgraded to his secret much later. So I'm very happy that I got it now. His other effect is not as relevant for this list, but having a restand at the end of battle on level 2 with 3 core is quite huge, considering he's only 6 cost and his BP is quite comparable to like Cross Evolt here. In terms of like, you know, you're comparing the cost 9 range of stats and then the cost 6 range of stats. This is quite the beefy boy, so I'm very happy to have 3 of him in the list. He can go down to 2 as well. Technically Cross Evolt can also go down to 2. A lot of the cards in this deck can go down to 2 to fit in more text. It's just that I want a more streamlined list first, and I'm enjoying it so far. Now when I say bread and butter of this list, this Minogame, this is a phenomenal collaboration card. Because on enter he draw a card. He draws a card. His flash effect is that he can summon himself from hand or trash by paying cost. And the effect can only be used once per turn. So the reason why he's at 3 is so that I can see him ASAP and then get as many of him down on the board as fast as I can. When he's destroyed, he also can destroy an opposing spirit if he's at level 2, so that's also very nice. The main point is that he can come out from your hand or your trash in flash timing to become a body for your Zeppa, and he can do the chain up to Nova or into Cross Evolt, so that's why he is at 3. Initially people run this guy at like 1 or 2, but I think needing to see him ASAP is relevant this meta, especially when Javad is constantly trying to clear your board and you need to find a way to flash in a body outside of, you know, once you get Bramzan, then this effect is basically useless, but that is why we also run our one shooter. Unless you get Ventus at the same time, then that's just GG a lot of the times, but we still have other outs, so that's okay. For our class 3s, we run the Koma Inus. I have not changed these to the Zara or Secret Arts yet, but I'm planning to eventually. So what he does is on summon he draws 1, and if your opponent controls a cost 3 or less 6 colored Nexus, you can send 2 core from your opponent's reserve trash or spirits to the void. So that second effect was meant to stop Vina, but now with the meta being Javad heavy, you can use this to slow down Javad to send their cores to void if they have the Nexus on board. If they don't, then it's a draw 1 and that's all you want. Its B side, Tensei condition is when he leaves the field by the opponent and your count is 3 or less. So when he flips, you can draw 2, and the second half of the skill is the same as the on summon effect. So when your opponent has a 6 colored Nexus that's cost 3 or less, you can send 2 costs from opposing reserve, trash or spirit to void. And the other level 1 effect is that your opponent's all 6 colored Grand Walker Nexuses cannot use their Grand Fields. So again, this was meant to actually stop Vina long ago in the BS55 era, but now it's such a valuable card. For 2 costs you can draw 3, because on summon is 1 draw, you Tensei is another 2 draw, so it's amazing. The secret art also looks nice in BSC 41, the Zara art also looks wonderful, but I haven't got to change up to those yet, but I will do that hopefully when I come back to Singapore again. We run 3 of this Dionysus dude. Technically this is also another card that can go down to 2, because it's not as important. However, his secondary skill is really nice. On summon, destroy, he draws 1. If this card has a soul core, your Grand Walker Dionysus are unaffected, and at level 2, if this guy has a soul core, this spirit cannot attack and is unaffected. So basically it's an unaffected body to jump into your Regalia to jump up to Nova. Basically, it's the reason why this card is even in the deck. Koma Inu can also do it, but you want Koma Inu to die. This is like the one that sits there through the explosions and pray, which is also good because against the Javad list, if this is at level 2, it doesn't die to Bramza, and then you can just jump up to Nova, go back to 5, and then you make your opponent cry because he just spent 1 whole turn doing nothing to you, essentially. And on destroy he draws 1 as well, so he's like half a Koma Inu but has the immunity to live and become a body for the very important cards. That's why I want him at 3. You can technically bring him down to 2 because you only ever need him like as a side piece when you have like a main attacker already, and then you just need this as a backup. It's also good that he is unaffected and he can block. So you can block, use the soul core, then he dies later to draw you a card. So very, very strong cost 3. So for the one-offs, you run 1 Biramba. I finally got the secret. I wanted to run 2, but I couldn't find another secret yet. But for now, 1 copy is enough. It's good against the Lamppost. It's good against Javad also. So because you can hit their early game a little bit with this dude when he tries to recover, as in add cost through his Burgoyle and his Nexus, so that you have a body for your cross evoke. You can also use it for your Regalias and Zepadons as well. Okay, next. The next of the two unknowns, we have the 1 Mark 6 and the 1 Spritzer. I forgot to ask Nick to sell me his secret from BSC 38, so I'm stuck with the LM1 for now, but that's okay. Spritzer is mostly here to deal with the mirror in certain occasions, because the mirror, although not seen very often, but if I see Worm Shooter into Nova, I'll be very sad. There's a lot of other things that I don't like this meta as well, like Goddess Incarnate. Farum? I don't like Farum. This deck doesn't like Farum at all, not one bit. Occasionally can use to dodge Badger. It's also a body for Nova. It's also a body for Zepadon. It's a body for Cross Evoke. So a lot of the stuff here just simply says, yeah, it's a body for something to go into. So we are very sad if we get Dark Towered, but at the same time not really, because we are doing it on their turn instead of our turn most of the time, so it's okay. 1 Mark 6. I don't like Shark. Fenneil occasionally as well, although Fenneil is not seen as often. What else? Cross Evolts, it's good against Cross Evolts, it's good against Zepadons. Yeah, with the meta being Javad heavy, he can technically come out. He can technically be out of the deck. Superstars, occasionally, if they don't have the Dark Worm Nova out, you can hit this on their Ganymede or on their Nova style of attack stat, and you basically just shut the turn down if they don't have the Dark Worm Nova. So that is nice. Speaking of dealing with Dark Worm Nova, I am finding space for 2 Deathtorments to deal with it, or something else entirely. Yeah, because our Magic lineup is very straightforward to dealing with Javad at the moment, because that's really the big thing. But Superstars is creeping back, and I kinda need to think about Deathtorment too, so I guess that's that. We run 3 God Break. Anti-mill, we don't want to see Castle Golem. It's very painful for us to get milled out, because we draw a lot already. The 6 color reductions is nice for us, because Cross Evolt is blue, Nova is red, so the rest of the deck is purple, and it makes up the symbols. It destroys the Grand Walker that is not Kigen family, so it deals with Amaterasu as well, because I don't like Amaterasu gaining a board so fast with their Grand Walkers. And cancelling all the Grand Walker symbols is nice, makes things harder for them to play, means they spend more cores and we have more time to move. And it replaces itself by drawing a card, so I am running this at 3. Again, this is another card that can be cut down to 2 for other things. This is one of the cards that I think I might cut for Deathtorment to deal with Superstars or any other like heavy protection deck, like White Control. White Control is also one of them, because a lot of their cards are, you know, protected, and the only thing that can actually really touch them, other than getting Genmajined, is Cross Evolt, and I don't want to just rely on that. So I think if really there's a need, 1 will go up for Deathtorment, and then the second copy I'll think about it later. But for now, this is the very straight build. I want to just have speed the Nova, and then I throw their hand away. The rest of the Magic lineup is the 2 Xerath Barrier. This is to deal with Javad mostly. You also can use this on Fenneil, Format occasionally, but I don't think Format has a lot of no-cost summons. They usually full reduction summon, and or well, other than through that 1 cat, but that's the one thing you stop. It's on the bright side, it's really just to deal with Javad mostly, because Javad does a lot of free summoning, and Xerath Barrier deals with ultimates, so that's why it's in this list. It's mostly for the 0 counter, and we are a purple deck, so we draw relatively easy into it. 2 Burst Flames. I don't like Lempo, although Lempo stops Worm Shooter already, but getting hit by Lempo too many times in the early game is not nice. This does get rid of white boards as well, so that's okay. It's good against Shark sometimes, because the Shark does hit quite painful. I might change some other cards to like, I may change this to Burst Wall instead of Flame, because this doesn't really kill a lot of things now, but it still can kill Javad. So removing Javad on your like first turn, if they decide to swing into you like an idiot, then it's good for us, because that means they have to draw their cost 5, not they're stuck for quite some time. The 2 diamond walls, of course, our last glimmer of hope if we really can't do much else. I'm considering to swap this out for bloodsheds because bloodsheds are bodies for the listed advance above, mostly cost evolt, but it also bounces a card to hand. It's cheaper because it's cost 3, and it also does end the attack step for free. So that's why I'm considering this to come out for bloodshed. But as a safe card, once I go back to 5 with Nova, then I cast this. Most of the time I'm very safe, so that's good enough for me. Then last but not least, our Nexuses, we run 3 purple volts because this deck, if it fights a spirit deck, we can chain advance like crazy, especially when Cross Evolt destroys. If you put Cross Evolt not at level 2 when everything is banished, when it leaves the field instead of going to the respective areas, then you can definitely flip purple world and get your core soul core back. You can technically just go into Nova and block something as well. That works because it doesn't need to be destroyed or depleted by effects. It just needs to be destroyed or depleted. So that is the list. Full list. So I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. If you guys like what you see, do hit that like and subscribe button. Do ring that bell as well so you can get the latest notification whenever I make new videos again. You can also check out my socials on Facebook and Twitter. They are linked in the description below. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this Purple Nova video filled with secret rares, and I hope to see you in the next one. Ciao!